everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Optimizing Mothers podcast. We have a very, very special guest here today, Mrs. Batsheva Cohen. Hi, Batsheva, welcome.
Hello.
And Batsheva was born in the Golan 2 months before the Yom Kippur War, when her family was evacuated to safety. She married Danny Cohen in 1996 after he completed his army service in the Givati Brigade. In the height of the Second Intifada, Rabbi Danny and Batsheva settled in Chevron, Israel, as Shluchim of the Rebbe. Their work includes involvement with the local community, upkeep of the Chabad sites, and the Cohen's primary focus is tending to the physical and spiritual needs of the hundreds of soldiers serving in the Chevron area. Rabbi and Batsheva serve up to 80 soldiers for Chabad meals each week, and Batsheva gives weekly classes, offers a wide range of programs to the female soldiers and her home, and this is the perfect person to really speak to us and inspire us during these times. So we're lucky to have you, Batsheva.
Thank you.
So, in these, hectic times, you agreed to sit down and give us the time. And I want to just jump right in because you live in Chevron, which many people might be afraid to travel to. And I think that a lot of people are experiencing fear, right? Like I know when I went to Eretz Yisroel, I went to Chevron on the bulletproof Eged bus, which by the way took 6 hours, but that's a separate story because of all the traffic. But the question is, you live in an area that most of us are afraid of. So how are you not afraid? And even more than that, since this is a mother podcast, how do you raise your children not to be afraid?
Okay, so first of all, I think that when you are a frum Jew and when you're also a Shlucha of the Rebbe, I think you know that you have that protection. And I always say that when you live in Chevron, you constantly live with a feeling of hashgacha pratis, because Hashem knows what he's doing, and Hashem is putting people where they should be in. And, for some odd reason, we were lucky that Chevron wasn't taken beforehand, and we came to live here. I think it's just the feeling that that Hashem is with you. You know that the Rebbe gave you a special job, and you're doing the best you can.
So how are you not intimidated about, from the Arabs in the area? Like you're in Chevron and they're there. Like, how do you relate to them in that sense?
I feel it very strong in Chevron, unlike necessarily in any place. Sometimes, when I go to the old city in Yerushalayim, you see the Arab neighbors, and I don't have that confidence that I have in Chevron. When I walk around the streets of Chevron, I feel that we are the Balei Bayit of this place. And when the attitude is this, then your hostile neighbors are not going to do anything, because you walk there as you own it. It's yours. Hashem gave it to you. It's written in the Torah. I'm not embarrassed of it. I'm the Balei Bayit. They should watch over from us and not the opposite. And you don't feel it necessarily in every place, but in Chevron, it's felt very, very strongly. And the funny thing is that the bars and the windows in Chevron are usually on houses of Arabs. They're not on the Jewish houses, because they know that if they start with anything, they're going to be punished by the army or by anyone else. So when this is the message you pass on, even your neighbors that don't necessarily like you will get it. We have no connection with them. The Jews have their areas that they live in. The Arabs have their areas, and there's no connection. And you just raise your family, your children, your shlichus, whatever you're doing, aside of your hostile neighbors. And it's not, I remember that when the kids were young, one time we took them in the car to Yerushalayim, and one of my kids says to me, all of a sudden, like when we were already in Yerushalayim, he says, "Mommy, I see some Arabs here." And you live in Chevron and you come to Yerushalayim and all of a sudden you see Arabs, because it wasn't part of, we were focusing on our work with the soldiers. We were focusing on hosting hundreds of people that come here on a daily basis. So all of a sudden he come to Yerushalayim and oops, we see the Arabs there. So it's not something that we ever put our focus in. And we always said that when we came here, we're focusing on what we can do. We're not going to focus on things that are either have any issues with it, or we can do. We're doing what the Rebbe, like, for example, the Rebbe was into the Lag BaOmer parade, so that's what we're going to do. The Rebbe was into having a mikveh for men, so that's part of our things that we do. And we just came to add, and we just came to add light, and just came to add Chassidus, and everyone can come and have a taste of Chassidus and what it was important for the Rebbe.
Wow. So it's a confidence that we all have to have.
Yes.
So you're talking about not being about the confidence and not being afraid in Chevron, and that's at a regular day. But right now we're at war. How do we as mothers all around the world empower our children not to be afraid from the news, from the headlines, from what's going on? How do we have that confidence?
Okay, so first of all, you should try and not read the news. And like Rabbi Shneur Ashkenazi said, if you want to know how things are bad, then open and read the news. But if you want to read how it's going to be good, then open a history book and then see that. And when that is the message, you know that it's going to be okay. And when you know that it's okay, this is the message that, first of all, you have to feel it within your heart. And when you strongly feel that, you can pass it to your kids, even without talking, even without saying it. Because when they see that the parents are confident, then the message is going to go straight forward. And not only that, but the fact that we are Shluchim of the Rebbe knew what he was doing. And he sent us here. And he's for sure going to watch us. And like I said before, you live in Chevron, you constantly feel that you have a shgacha pratis. I just came back, 15 minutes ago from the army base. By me, it's nighttime. And I drove by myself, and I knew that it's going to be okay. I just know it. And when you constantly feel that, then you pass it on, and the kids are not afraid. I do have some neighbors that are afraid. My neighbor went to her sister's engagement party. She left her kids by me because she did not want them to drive at night. But when you know that, then you don't have that fear. And we've been living here for over 20 years. And I don't think we ever had that. And when that is the message, I think you can raise your children much more healthy. You don't ignore when they're scared of anything, but you certainly, if that is the message, and that was the message most of the years, all the years that we were here, then I think it's okay. Then you know that your child is going to grow up safe, and it's not going to affect his life.
Wow. Do you want to describe a little bit of some of the work that you do with the soldiers, at the army base, etc.?
Okay, so right now we are doing anything possible to uplift their spirit. I gave actually 3 classes in different army bases, and one of the commanders said to me, Bachi, do you mind just coming whenever you have time? Maybe stay over at night. Maybe you can do a whole shift with us and just stay with us and talk to us. It's like when you talk to us, you just uplift us. So maybe stay. And so first of all, we give classes as much as we can. Tomorrow, I was asked again to do a challah baking. On next week, they asked me to come to my house and to do a different event. We are planning like every Thursday to give out neshek. Friday is I'm always give out homemade fresh challahs to different army bases. This past last week, I helped a mother of one of the families nearby, and we sent her sons to fill in. Her son is unfortunately kidnapped in Gaza. Today, they got the official a notification from the army. So last week, she turned to me and she asked me to help her check her son's tefillin. So we helped in that. Just before Shabbos came in, I came to her house with a big heart-shaped challah and gave it to them just to give them, we're thinking about you. I went this past Motzei Shabbos, we went to pay a shiva call by one of the families in the area that their son was killed. in that horrible Shabbos in next to Gaza. So we're constantly either it's supporting people or paying a shiva
Physical,
or
morale, uplifting.
and yeah, and we also did Tehillim with children, and we made hard cookies that afterwards we gave it out to the different checkposts in Chevron. So anything that could help out soldiers uh, is is welcomed. Like we always like to go out Friday night, and if it's especially in the winter, to give out chicken soup to the soldiers. So now it's even more than that. So everything that gives them a feeling that we're together with you, whatever you need, we're here for you. Even they even
Wow.
requested. I said, you want to do a sushi evening? If you're not in the middle of fighting, then let's do sushi together with challah baking. So anything possible, we do that, and we get requests for. Last week, my kids went to the south and gave out Tehillim. They put chitas in every jeep of the base. They gave out, I think, hundreds and hundreds of tzitzis. Um, so anything that we could add to that, we try and we do that.
Wow. Do you yourself have members of your family in the army?
Yes, we have 3 people in our family that are drafted. My husband, Danny, is in the first response team here in Chevron. And my oldest son is in the South. He's an officer, high officer in the South, so he's there. And my third son is up north. So we have them all covered in Yehuda and Shomron, up north and in the South. And it was actually very nice that when my son went to give out the tzitzis and the tehillim and the pizzas to all the soldiers, they took a picture. My oldest son, together with my second son, this guy with the IDF uniform, and this one with a white shirt and the Tzivas Hashem yarmulke. And here we have, I give him such a compliment when they put it up in the family WhatsApp. Like here we have 2 soldiers, a Tzivas Hashem soldier and an IDF soldier. And together it's the exact combination that we need. So that was big nachas for us.
I love that. And that's something that we mothers really could use everywhere. We can make our children realize they're the soldiers. You guys are the chayalim, in Tzivas Hashem, and we're helping the chayalim in Eretz Yisrael. You have 3 members in the army. Wow. How are you not afraid? How do you strengthen your own emunah and betachan?
Okay, so first of all, it's a lot of davening and saying Tehillim. And another thing is that I don't show them any. If I'm nervous, I'm not going to show it to them. If I'm a little bit scared, I'm not going to show it to them. And I just try to always compliment them. And you're doing the best. I know that it's hard for you. You're not home. My oldest son, his wife is due a little bit in about 2.5 weeks, and he has a year and a month old baby, and it's not easy for him. So it's a lot of davening, a lot of supporting them, and I think that when you're busy in doing positive stuff, you don't have time to think about, oh, it's nervous wracking or what's happening. Last night, for example, there was a high alert after the Arabs claimed that Israel bombed a hospital in Gaza. So there were high alerts all over Yehuda and Shomron that the Arabs are going to start rioting. So even then, when my husband told me to lock the door and I should be careful, maybe I shouldn't go, maybe I shouldn't give out a class in another army base, the feeling was it's going to be okay. You're not afraid. You just open Tehillim and it's going to be okay. So that's
what are some practical things that you do to stay safe? In other words, yeah.
Okay, so first of all, you do listen to what the restrictions are. And when they tell you do not drive, this past Friday, unfortunately, I wasn't able to give out the challahs in the army bases because the Arabs were threatening with rioting all over the country and all over the world as well. So unfortunately, I didn't give out challahs. Afterwards, I felt very bad because Baruch Hashem, nothing happened, but they didn't get their fresh challahs from me. What else do we do besides that, we go out and we give them food and we invite them for Shabbos meals and anything possible to take the whole feeling away. And when you're constantly busy with that, then you're not going to have time to do that. Okay.
Batsheva, how do you get your kids involved to do those, everything that you were describing before? Like, how do you get them involved in your shluchas?
Now it's a time that they want to do it. My kids are like saying to me, Ima, we don't want to be home. Okay, we want to do mivtzaim. We want to go put on tefillin. My kids are going again tomorrow to the south to give out more tehillim and to put more tefillin in soldiers, to give out more tzitzis. They don't want to stay home. My daughter wants to constantly bake cookies for the soldiers. They want to invite soldiers. They want to. I don't have to even ask them, and it's coming from them. My daughter did this past week a lot of babysitting for families that the husband is drafted to the IDF, and they have lots of little children. So she did it b'simcha without asking anything. So it actually, they feel it, and they do it b'simcha rabba. Really.
And that's probably part of the chinuch that you're giving them, that we're here to focus and serving on our shluchas and to help. I'm wondering if you have any reassuring words, like even on the other side of the ocean, if kids are up at night and they're like, Mommy, I'm scared. How can, what could we do with our children to really reassure them that strong emunah and betachan that Hashem is watching over us and that we don't have to be afraid? What are some words that you use?
If the kids are afraid, you just sit with them. You don't ignore the fear. You let them talk about it. But then you do tell them that Hashem is watching over us. Hashem is not forgetting his Yidden. If it's in New York, if it's in Israel, if it's any place, he's going to do it. And if they're afraid, they could say, Perek Kuf Kaf Aleph in Tehillim. They could daven. They could do a mitzvah. They're afraid. They put a pushka. They put a dime in the pushka, and they say a short chapter of Tehillim. And you just reassure them that everything is okay. If it's hard for them to fall asleep, you sit next to them and you say Shema, and they say it with kavana, and you just pass on the message that it's going to be okay. I mean, I truly believe in it. And I remember that I once spoke, I think it was in a Chabad house in Toronto, and someone asked me about the life, and that was not even during the war. And there was a group of Israeli ladies there, and she said to me, I don't know, you just describe life in Chevron as if it's like La La Land, because when you don't look around the obstacles, when you are focused on your shluchas, when you're focused on what you're doing, and you're saying, okay, I want to do this. This is going to bring nachas to the Rebbe. This is going to do nachas to the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Then you're doing the best you can, and it goes on. So this is what we try and do.
Amazing. And also, you said before the example of the little soldier in Service Hashem, it's so cute, but how else could we explain to little kids that what they do here really, makes an impact there?
Okay, so I'm not the one that said that tefillah shel tinokot shel beit rabban, dafka davening of little children is what touches a Kadosh Baruch Hu the most. If a Kadosh Baruch Hu hears the little children, he can't ignore that. He can't just like close his ears and not hear it. So dafka, their davening is the most influential in what's happening about the decision of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. So they have like one of the most important jobs here. So if they daven, they necessarily impact on the war here in Eretz Yisrael. So we need their davening. It's not like a favor that they're doing. It's like without their davening, the IDF will not win the war. We need the same way we need a Tzivas Hashem soldier and the IDF soldier. We need the davening of Tinakot Shel Beit Rabban. So I think that saying that to little children can help a lot. And when you can also tell them that if they do a mitzvah on behalf of the soldiers, on behalf of the people living in Eretz Yisrael in those attacked areas, that the mitzvahs are gonna, it for sure. The ahavas Israel that we have is going to take over the hatred that our enemies have. That's for sure.
Beautiful. Do you have any specific stories of soldiers or commanders or people that are more open now to the emunah and the betachan and the ruchnius than they used to be because of the current situation?
Yeah. So you get a lot of, short clips and WhatsApps and whatever. And yesterday I got something amazing. It was a voice message, a long one, of a combat officer that recorded a message. And he said, this war is a war for the ruchnius of us. And in this war, all we need is for the rabbis, and he begged the military rabbis to come and support and give them chizuk and give the soldiers chizuk. He says, please bring thousands of tzitzis with you. We want to hear you. And he started his speech on the WhatsApp message. He said, I am not a frum person. I must be very, very clear about it. But this war brought us to the conclusion that the way we're going to win this war is ruach together with fighting. Because if we know what we're fighting for, we're going to for sure win it. And that's why it says ki tetzele milchama al oivecha. What does it say, al oivecha, and not in front or not next to? Because when you know that the truth is in your hands and we are going to stay forever, then it's hurting right now. And it's going to be a long fight, but we're going to win it. We're going to win it. And so there's that commander. And there's a place that a friend of mine went into the army base, and she put like very slow songs, and a commander of combat soldiers went nearby, and he came to her and he asked her, do you mind putting on different kind of songs? Because when I want that when my soldiers go to the battlefield, they're going to be filled with a emunah that they're going to win. So I want to have a different music. I want them to go to war knowing that they're going to win. So please go and change the music and put on music that's going to give them like bitachon in Hashem, and not the opposite. So there's a lot of movies in that.
It's amazing that you're saying that. Yeah, I saw a bunch of videos of soldiers dancing, but the truth is that's something we could do in our homes too. You want to get that uplifted spirit, play music, dance with your kids.
Right.
But what about, when kids are not so young? What about like the older girls, like teens, where it's hard. They saw things or they heard things and they have questions. We're focused on everything being so good, but it was hard. Like, how do you answer with emunah betachan to the teenagers? Like, how do you address their questions on the matter?
Okay. So first of all, they should not be watching those movies. Those movies are horrifying, and the less they watch, the better it's going to be for their neshama, because it's horrific movies, and they should not hear all the news. And the second thing is that Hashem knows what he's doing. It's for us in this world, it's hard to grasp, it's hard to understand it, but it's going to be okay in the long run. Like Rabbi Shneur Ashkenazi said, if you want to know how bad it's going to be, open the media and open social media. But if you want to know how good it's going to be, open the history book. And in the history, we stayed. And like the story on Hanukkah, like the story of other yontivs, we were never, a big, massive army. We were never strong necessarily with lots of airplanes like Yom Kippur War or other wars. But when we had this emunah, we always won. And when I gave this week 3 classes, I said to them, look what happened in this past war. This past war, one of the heads of the Hamas said that the reason that they decided to start the war Dafka now is because they were reading the news and they saw that we are so separated, that there's so much, unfortunately, hatred inside Am Yisrael against the legal thing, for it, and he said, and we knew that you are in a fight, and we knew that you guys hate each other, and when you hate each other, we're going to win. And I asked the soldiers, and how long did it take since the war started that everyone came and fought together in the field, and everyone came and volunteered for all the families from the south? It took them a few hours, and you didn't see a difference if you're a from person or if you're not a from person, if you're from America or if you're from Israel. And the only way that we're going to win is if we, they tried to win their war because of hatred, because of sinat chinam, and we're going to win it if we have ahavat chinam. So on the contrary, we have to add ahavas Israel, and we have to add in mitzvahs. The more we add mitzvahs, they have an impact. And we know that it's hard for us to always show ahavas Israel, but when you have it, you win the war. And they have, because they can do it, they have more of an impact. And they asked me, the soldiers asked me, so how do you do it with your children? So I said that when you're busy, and especially for teenagers, that they have a lot of koyach in their hands, when you're busy in positive act, then you put aside all the obstacles, you put aside all the hard feelings. And when they do mitzvahs, when they send neshek, when they say tehillim, when they do rallies of saying psukim, they impact the war here. And the teenagers today can do so much. They could gather people. They could do davening gatherings, and they have the energy that young children don't necessarily have. So we encourage them to take acts that they can do, and they have a lot of power in their hands as well.
Channel their energy. Do
Yes.
you naturally have such a strong, rock solid emunah b'tachan and not fear? Is this something you work on? Is this something you learn and you like do you work on it, or it's natural?
Okay, it's very interesting because when I came to Chevron, I need to know what's happening, how many people are coming, what's going on, and it kind of, I don't remember that I actually was afraid, even when there were tough times in 2015, and there was a lot of stabbing in the area and a lot of piguim, a lot of people being killed. I don't remember that I was like afraid of anything. It made me, okay, so let's do more. The more we do it, it's going to stop the fear. Or I don't remember. People are laughing at me that I don't feel it. Many times I know there's stuff going on, but I don't think that I was, that Hashem is here. My husband has a gun. I think all my neighbors, most of my neighbors have a gun. So Hashem has his own plan, and it's going to be okay. I don't think that I ever worked on it.
It comes naturally to you. It's a pshitut, like Hashem's in charge. There's nothing to be afraid of.
Yeah.
Wow. So really, that's how that gets transferred to your children. Like, we as mothers have to come to a place where it's such a like a simplicity, like Hashem's in charge. There's nothing to be afraid of. And that's how it gets transferred.
Right. They always say that you need to have a dugma chaya for your children in chinuch and in a lot of things. And in Chevron, I think part of the dugma chaya is not only chinuch, but it's also to know that your children are looking at you in every sense possible, in security, in how you personally, me is how I decide to run my Chabad house. And Dugma Chaya is also, yes, it is scary. It is sometimes nerve-wracking, but it's going to be okay. It's really going to be okay.
Wow. Do you want to share any insight? Like, I'm sure living in Chevron and Eretz Yisrael, you're very passionate about where you live. Any insight from what the Rebbe says about Eretz Yisrael and, something that you'd want to share?
Okay, so first of all, whenever the Rebbe spoke about Eretz Yisrael, he always spoke about it with such a strong passion. He cried about it. It was one of the things that whenever the Rebbe spoke about Eretz Yisrael, he was in tears. And it was so important for him. And so if it's so important for him and it touched him so strong, then it's something that it should be. It's not stam that all the Lubavitchers that we know got in touch with us the second this war started, because you can't ignore it was part of the DNA of the Rebbe, caring so much about Eretz Yisrael. So if the Rebbe cared, and it's very, on one hand you see, whoa, the same things that the Rebbe said 30 years ago, the same things that he said years ago, everything that he said, every sentence is coming now to reality. So on one hand, you could say, oh, it's so sad. Why didn't we listen to the Rebbe then? But okay, people didn't listen to it, but now we have the chance to fix it. But we know that if we're going to do it, then Mashiach's going to come. It can't be that all these evilness is happening in this world and it's not going to bring Mashiach closer to us. The more we're going to add mitzvahs, the more we're going to add in Eretz Yisrael, the more it's going to bring Mashiach closer. So little children have a job, just to daven. Teenagers have a job, just add in mitzvahs, add in rallies of tehillah, tzedakah, tefillah, everything. The second you do that, it's going to be like a kinnis that the whole world is bringing Mashiach together. So
Wow. Do you find, one second, if you need to go. I'll just finish up. Okay. So then, you need the computer cut off. Do you find that people are also more open to hearing about Mashiach now? Like not just, the tzitzis and the chitas, like are people that normally wouldn't believe or wouldn't be open, are they thirsty to hear what you just said about Mashiach also?
I actually heard a father of, I think his daughter was killed in last week on that Shabbos, and he was yearning for Mashiach to come. Not a from person that's just waiting for Mashiach to come so he'll be able to see his daughter again. And now that all these people, after being killed, all they want is the emet for Mashiach to come. If Mashiach's going to come, the evilness is going to go away. They're going to be able to join their children together. And there's only going to be goodness in this world. So a lot of people are yearning and davening for it. You don't hear so much talking about Mashiach, but more talking about, there were so many army bases that my friends were not allowed to necessarily go and give classes there or do challah baking. And now all the commanders are like begging them, please come, please bring us tzitzis. And we're talking about not from commanders. The officers, and most of them are not necessarily from, and they're like saying, please bring us tzitzis, bring Shabbos candles. Last Friday, after I went to give this heart challah, I went next to Mas Machpelah, and I went check post after check post after check post, and I had Shabbos candles to give, tea lights to give the female soldiers. And in every check post, they said, we already lit candles. And, it doesn't happen every Friday. I give years and years, I give out neshek, and to go check post after check post to see that she lit and she lit and she lit means that they're there. They want it. They want to add to it, even people that were not there before.
Wow. I love how you spoke about channeling the fear into action and tehillim and just radiating that calm to your family that, Hashem is in charge and it's going to be okay. Any last, thing that you would want to leave or share with the mothers before we finish up?
I think that it's a time for all the mothers to, we have to take it to a channel of what we could add in Torah and mitzvahs. It's not it's like awakening from Hashem to tell us, you really want Mashiach to come? You got to do more. Come on. It's the last push before Mashiach comes. And Hashem is trying to wake us up. So Be'ezer Hashem, just add more Torah, more mitzvahs, more learning. And then Mashiach's going to come and everyone's going to be able to come and join us all together here in Eretz Yisrael with Mashiach, with all the soldiers, with all the people that were killed. And together, we're going to all go to Beis HaMikdash. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Please share, subscribe, and thank you so much, Batsheva, for your time today and for uplifting us. May we really accomplish our goal of adding in all the different mitzvahs and Mashiach finally being here. Thank you so much. We should hear only good news. We'll be in touch when Mashiach comes. Can we visit you in Chevron? Do we get a spot?
Yes, you do.